Long time no see, how've you been? Still got that dull look, I see. Hey, ugly, been breathing, but, looking at you again, you really don't resemble your sister at all. Can't believe I married someone like you, what a dark history. I think it's not uncommon to hear about someone's partner being snatched away by another. In my case, that other woman was my own sister. My name is Mary. In terms of looks, or what you might call specs, I guess I come across as just ordinary to most. But, from a young age, my relatives have always pitied me. That's because Rachel, my beautiful and smart sister, is the epitome of perfection. Rachel is perfect, it's a bit of a shame about the younger one, is a phrase I've lost count of how many times I've heard. Being compared to my successful sister was a daily occurrence. My self-esteem was at rock bottom, and eventually, I stopped trying to compete. My choice of hairstyles and clothes became all about comfort. With my thick glasses, the just ordinary look I had was getting duller by the day. Growing up, I couldn't say Rachel and I were close, and I don't have any fond memories of her being particularly kind. Our parents, since we were in elementary school, would reward whoever had better test scores with toys or treats. Needless to say, I rarely scored higher than Rachel, so most of the toys, games, and snacks ended up with her. Each time she'd say, "I'll lend you a toy." And as my face lit up with gratitude reaching out to say, "Thank you," she'd retort, as if you want to play with toys, beat me in grades or figure it out yourself, while looking down on me with a smirk. Despite always being favored, she was a person with no generosity of spirit. My sister faced her first setback with college entrance exams. She went to a prestigious high school, attended cram school, and her mock exam results were promising. She aimed for what's considered an Ivy League national university, and everyone believed she'd make it, but she didn't. Though my sister was ultimately accepted into a high-level private university, it was undoubtedly her first real defeat. Both our parents and grandparents were deeply disappointed. It seems that experience diminished her spirit, and without taking a gap year, she decided to enroll in the private university. Moreover, what probably hurt her pride even more was the fact that 2 years later, I got into the same university as her. I had given up on a lot of things about myself. But seeing how my parents were devastated by my sister not getting into her first choice university, I wondered, what if I, the sister who was never expected to achieve much, got into a better university than expected? It might change my life. That thought crossed my mind. And that's where I met my ex-husband, Tyler. Tyler was my sister's classmate, and close enough to her to join the same club. Our first encounter was when I stumbled upon them together in the cafeteria. Tyler had extremely smooth social skills, very adept at handling girls. Before I knew it, I was also drawn into having lunch with them. Honestly, being with my not-so-close sister and her club friends was the worst feeling. But Tyler was handsome and fun to talk to, and it turned out to be a surprisingly good time. I was honestly shocked when Tyler asked for my contact details while my sister was in the bathroom. "Do you really want my contact info?" I blurted out just like that. Tyler laughed, saying he found me interesting. And from there, Tyler's relentless pursuit began. I'd get regular messages on the app line, and occasionally he'd call me. He'd ask me out for meals almost every week. I thought I was dreaming. Once, he said, "I missed the last train because I got drunk, can we meet now?" Looking back, I should have stopped myself, but at the time, I was really worried and rushed over to see Tyler him. Missing the last train, alone at the station, and drunk. Just the thought made me so worried I found myself running out of the house before I knew it. I think that's when I had completely fallen for him. When I got to the station, Tyler was perfectly fine and not drunk at all. "It's actually just walking distance to my place from here, Mary, do you want to stay over?" It was then I finally realized Tyler's true intentions, and suddenly I started to panic. That night, Tyler didn't make a move on me but confessed his feelings, and we started dating. After we began dating, on Tyler's advice, I switched from glasses to contacts and started dressing more stylishly according to his suggestions, gradually becoming more fashionable. I won't say I became cute, but I definitely felt a change in how people reacted to me. I was surprised how much people's attitudes can change based on appearances. Amidst this, I came to value Tyler, who had been by my side even when I wasn't at my best, even more. Though I occasionally got hit on by other guys, I never paid them any mind because I owed my new image to Tyler. Tyler visited my family home several times, and he seemed to get along well with both my sister and parents. After all, he and my sister were friends to begin with, and my parents liked him because he was good at winning people over. My relationship with Tyler was going smoothly. Then one day, I came home to find my sister crying because she had been dumped by her boyfriend. She was really down because she loved him enough to consider marriage, which she confided in me, despite not normally talking to me. I had never met that guy. The reason being, she felt embarrassed by having a dropout sister like me and tried to keep me from meeting him. It seems she did come to our family home but always timed her visits when I wasn't around. Despite being such a terrible sister, I ended up listening to her because she was crying right in front of me. But the more I listened, the clearer it became that her boyfriend had left her due to her arrogance, and it was nothing but her own doing. And while I was kindly listening to her, she started saying things like, "How can someone like you have such a handsome boyfriend, while I get dumped? Something's wrong with the world." I almost retorted with, "That's exactly why," but I just barely held back. My sister experienced her biggest heartbreak ever and was down for a while after that. Tyler, who we occasionally saw at the club, was worried and would ask me all about how my sister was doing. After some time, I happily married Tyler. I managed to land a decent job at a fairly good company. And thanks to being frugal from way back, we had some savings, so I thought we could live happily ever after. But it wasn't so easy. Since we hadn't lived together before marriage, this was our first time cohabitating, and we were feeling our way through it. There was one thing that particularly bothered me. Tyler just couldn't put his smartphone down. He even bought a waterproof case so he could bring it into the bath. He claimed it was to listen to music in the bath, but carrying his smartphone everywhere, even then, definitely felt off. We both had weekends off and usually spent them together, but Tyler would occasionally leave home during the week for work drinks. Is it normal to have workplace drinks that often? When asked who he was going with, he never gave a straight answer. I couldn't help but be suspicious. "Who are you going drinking with? Why do you care so much? Are you trying to control me?" he would snap back. I was surprised, but, still liking Tyler despite everything, pretended not to mind and let it slide. One day, he asked, "Is it okay if I go on a trip with some friends over the next 3-day weekend?" He rarely made it clear he was going with friends, so I readily agreed. I even thought about taking a solo trip myself, feeling quite relaxed about it. Tyler came back from that trip clearly exhilarated. He seemed a bit tipsy and remained in high spirits even after getting home. Maybe because of that, he forgot to take his smartphone with him to the bath. There it was, right in front of me, Tyler's smartphone that might hold evidence of infidelity. I wanted to look, but I also didn't want to. But such an opportunity might never come again. As I was wrestling with this conflict, a notification popped up on Tyler's phone. My eyes involuntarily darted to it, and I saw a message saying, "The trip was so much fun, let's go again." And shockingly, it was from Rachel. It was a message from my sister. Maybe they went with a few former club members from college. But then, the message that followed read, "Sorry for going at it so many times until morning. Let's make sure my sister doesn't find out." My mind went blank. I was literally stunned, unable to cry. While I was frozen, smartphone in hand, Tyler came out of the bathroom, humming happily. Seeing him like that, my anger arrived belatedly, and I confronted Tyler. "We need to talk." What? Can it wait until after I dry my hair?" "It most certainly cannot, come here now." "Huh, what's going on?" That's my line. "What's this message all about?" It seemed Tyler realized he'd forgotten his smartphone, his face going pale as he cautiously took it from my hand. "This is from my sister, Rachel, right? You said you were going on a trip with friends, but it was with her."
Yeah.
"Because she's a friend, remember, meeting you was all thanks to Rachel." "So you did something until morning with a friend that you'd be in trouble if I found out. What did you do?" "It's just a joke, messing around, you know, and why are you snooping on my phone anyway?" "It's you who's messing around, isn't it? Always dodging the issue, never answering the real questions. That attitude itself is the evidence." "Shut up, be quiet, I never even liked you in the first place, why should I have to listen to you? His shocking words froze me in place. Tyler continued, his voice rising. I've been in love with your sister since I entered college. But Rachel had a serious boyfriend and showed no signs of breaking up. Just when I was about to give up, thinking it was a love that would never be realized, I found out about you. I remember seeing you at the cafeteria. I thought you were dowdy and unattractive compared to your sister. But on closer inspection, you don't not look like her, and there were many similarities in your voice and gestures. So, I decided to date you as a substitute for Rachel. If I couldn't have Rachel, at least I could have her sister. I was always looking for traces of Rachel in you. When we were dating, when I was holding you, and even at our wedding. His yelling echoed throughout the room as I remembered our time together since meeting. Tyler always seemed happy when he was with my sister. Tyler aggressively pursued me, the younger sister. When he heard my sister had broken up with her boyfriend, he persistently asked about her condition. So, that was it. The dots connected. That's why you suggested I switch to contacts, and gave me advice on my hair and fashion, to make me more like her.
Yeah.
So, what else is there to it? I was no longer sure if the person in front of me was truly the Tyler I loved. Always being compared to my sister, neglected. My life, where toys and games were monopolized by my sister. The first man I thought recognized me for who I was actually only seeing my sister in me. Well, say something. Since when have you and my sister? Since I stayed over at your family's house. Since we got engaged.
Yeah.
We just happened to bump into each other in the bathroom. Huh, in the bathroom, you can't mean there. When someone you love wants you, the place doesn't matter. In your fiancé's family's bathroom, my parents were there, right? They were, so. I can't believe this, I can't do this anymore. Huh, what do you mean you can't? After all, without my advice, you would have remained plain and unattractive forever. Just, please stop yelling. I'm yelling because of you. That's enough, I'm going to talk about this with my parents, and yours too. Let's all sit down this weekend, including my sister. Do we really need to involve my parents? Can't we just talk it out, the three of us? Why should it be me against you two? Plus, if we're talking about divorce, we have to tell our parents. Divorce, are you serious? Are you seriously asking that question? Say whatever you want, if you divorce me, you'll never find anyone else. That's not the point, you're impossible to talk to. Anyway, please make time this weekend. Watching Tyler's brazen attitude, I started to think that. Aside from the affair and the fact it was with my sister, he must be thrilled to have ended up with his crush. Was he so thrilled about their trip that he even wanted to boast to me? This must be what they mean by head in the clouds. And then the weekend arrived. My husband and sister. Our parents gathered at my family home. I started by explaining the situation. Especially my parents, who looked dumbfounded, as if they couldn't believe their prized daughter would do such a thing. My father, having doted on my sister since we were kids, seemed particularly shocked. Then, Tyler, somewhat surprisingly, backed me up. Yes, I originally liked Rachel, what Mary has said is largely true. My sister also nodded vigorously. They must have decided on a defiance strategy together. For me, it was convenient as it saved me the trouble of convincing our parents. What surprised me further was Tyler's mother, who, oddly smiling, said, "Well, everyone, these kids are still young. Why not let them love freely? Love triangles are common, this time, it just happened to be with siblings, it's unavoidable." Riding on the absurdity of Tyler's mother, my sister started speaking smugly. Tyler and I were meant to be together. He supported me through my hardest time after my heartbreak. Like he saved me back then, I want to support him now. He has always thought of me, even before meeting my sister. My sister's monologue seemed endless. Having the person I love be my own sister's husband was excruciating. When he reciprocated my feelings, it felt like a dream. She doesn't understand the happiness of having him by her side. I can cherish him more than my sister ever could. My parents, previously stunned by my sister's narrative that sounded like a touching story, snapped back to reality when my father sternly said, "Having an affair with your sister's husband is unforgivable. I will never accept it. if you plan to remarry this man after divorcing Mary, then our parent-child bond is over. What, Dad, are you serious? I'm not joking, you've done something to justify that. To cut off ties with your own daughter, how could you say such a thing to me? It's pitiful. I couldn't believe my sister's words. Even now, she thought of herself as the victim. And Tyler sided with her. This is too much, we were planning to divorce anyway, so that's fine, but to cut off ties with Rachel is terrible. That's what's terrible, both my parents and I thought. Tyler's mother was nodding tearfully, and then, fueled by Tyler's words, my sister lashed out at our parents. So, Mom and Dad, you're taking Mary's side. Fine, I was the failure of a sister anyway, I'll cut ties with all of you, all I need is him. Yelling, my sister and Tyler held hands and left the house. Stunned and speechless, we watched Tyler's parents bow apologetically and leave. Shortly after, my dad apologized to me. I'm sorry for not believing you right away. I just couldn't imagine it, and I'm sorry for always comparing you to your sister when you were kids. Despite having such a lousy parent and a sister like her, you've grown up to be such a wise and straightforward person. Dad, there's no need for you to apologize, I'm sorry for causing such an embarrassing mess between siblings. Being apologized to by my parents somehow made me want to cry. Seeing me cry, my parents also started crying. It was the worst feeling ever. The barrier I had always felt with my parents since childhood, the awkwardness related to my sister, seemed to disappear. That was something I felt grateful for. Improving my relationship with my parents, I have to thank my sister and Tyler for that. And as for Tyler, we managed to divorce peacefully, but he and my sister disappeared without a trace. My parents and I, we couldn't care less about them anymore. Just as everyone was starting to forget about them, my sister and Tyler casually showed up at our family home. It was New Year's, 3 years after our divorce. They said they came to give New Year's greetings. When I opened the door, there they were, holding hands. It was shocking enough to see my sister, but Tyler being with her was truly surprising. Long time no see, huh, how've you been, still the underachiever, I see. Tyler joined in, hey, ugly, still breathing, looking at you again, you really don't look like your sister at all. Can't believe I was married to someone like you, what a dark history, embarrassing. They looked at me and laughed together. I thought about retaliating, but it seemed too foolish to engage with them seriously. Ignoring them, they just took off their shoes and came into the house. My dad soon appeared and said, what are you doing here now, you're no longer a daughter to us, leave. But my sister insisted, just let us share something. Dad, I married him, we came today to tell you that, Mary, I wanted you to know too, I'll be happy with him, in your place. My sister spoke with a dreamy expression. Tyler looked smug. Even after 3 years, these two haven't changed a bit. My father must have been thinking the same thing, as he sighed heavily and said. I see, I've said it before, but you're no longer my daughter, don't expect us to celebrate your marriage. Well, that's fine, we just wanted to report it, more importantly, Dad, how's Grandma? Our grandma had been hospitalized with an illness even before this whole incident happened. Thinking they were genuinely concerned about Grandma's condition, my dad, ever the polite man, answered her question. Grandma's the same as always. Her illness isn't getting better, but it's not getting worse either. She seems to have adjusted well to the hospital staff, so there's no need to worry. Ugh. That's not what I meant. What then? What are you planning to do with the inheritance? Huh? I mean, Grandma's inheritance. There's a significant amount. And some of it is supposed to come to me, right? I was wondering if I could have my share now, as a living inheritance. I was stunned. The New Year's greeting was just a pretext. And while I thought the real purpose was to report their marriage, that too was just incidental. Their true motive was Grandma's inheritance. Even though Tyler had started his own company at a young age and shouldn't be short on money. Feeling puzzled, I decided to ask bluntly. Do you really need the money right away? Are you that strapped for cash? My words came out sharper than I intended, but I didn't correct myself. No, well, it's just that. My sister started to stutter. Seeing her struggle, my mom delivered the final blow. The truth is, there's no inheritance left for you. Grandma's inheritance has already been given away as living gifts. What? It's all been passed on to Mary and her husband, after all their hardships. Huh, did you just say husband? Sam, could you come here for a moment? Sure. The man who came out at my mom's call was my current husband. Seeing him, my sister collapsed to her knees. Because he was the man my sister had a major heartbreak over during her college days. What does this mean? You're really married to Mary?
Yeah.
Actually, that's right, long time no see, huh, you seem a bit different, did you just lose weight? The man smiling brightly was my current husband. Standing tall even in front of my sister and Tyler, my reliable prince. We were colleagues at work and had always gotten along well. He was there for me during the messy divorce talks. We started dating after the divorce was finalized. But it was only a month into our relationship that I realized he was my sister's ex. When his ex-girlfriends came up in conversation, a hunch led me to uncover the truth. My sister had stubbornly refused to introduce her boyfriend at the time, so it took me a while to connect the dots. Normally, one might hesitate to date their ex's sister. Prepared for rejection, his response, bright and laughing, caught me off guard. You're you, who your sister is doesn't matter to me. Sure, I'd hate it if you were arrogant like Rachel, as long as it's okay, with you, Mary, I want to be with you forever. He seemed like a prince from a far-off land. Learning that her once deeply admired prince and I were married must have been a massive shock to my sister. Seeing her reaction, Tyler began to sense the unusual tension and started panicking. My prince added fuel to the fire. Addressing Tyler directly. Nice to meet you. Actually, I used to date Rachel, she was selfish, a bit dim-witted, and frankly, quite exhausting to be around, don't you think? Hearing this, my sister began to sob quietly. Tyler bit his lip, making a grim face. Even through her tears, my sister started up again about the inheritance. What do you mean all of Grandma's inheritance went to Mary? Sister, about that. I tried to explain, but my prince cut in. Actually, Mary is pregnant with our child. We're getting married because of the baby. We were discussing how expensive everything is going to be. And then Grandma said, Mary has already suffered enough because of her no-good sister, I can't let her struggle financially too. So, she decided to give us the inheritance as a living gift. There was talk of a will, but after finding out about the pregnancy, she said we'd need the money right away. By the way, you two seem to need money urgently, is something going on? It's just that, the company went bankrupt. The one you started. What else could it be? I seem to have rubbed salt in the wound. It turns out their company had failed. They were drowning in debt, and in desperation, they came to our house hoping for Grandma's inheritance. Hearing this, my father said, I see, what goes around comes around. Indeed, karma really does exist. Anyway, we have no money to lend you, what you did to Mary has come back to haunt you, that's all there is to it. How can you say that? Rachel is your daughter too, how can you not help your own daughter when she's in trouble? Outsiders should stay quiet. Then, cutting into the conversation, my mother spoke up. I know this is a hard time to say this, but I'm actually glad you two came back. Mom. To my sister, my mother's words must have sounded like salvation. Tyler and Rachel. Because of you two. Mary went through so much trouble. So, I asked a lawyer friend for advice, and they said Mary is fully entitled to alimony from the divorce. I know you're going through tough times, Tyler, but that's a separate issue, please make sure to pay Mary what she's owed. As she spoke, my mom's voice grew more intense. Alimony. Having been thoroughly scolded by my dad, my prince, and now my mom, the two were speechless, their bodies trembling slightly. You'll be hearing from the lawyer soon, so please be prepared. My mom delivered the final blow. With shaky steps, the two of them left our house. Thanks to my grandmother's inheritance, my prince and I have been living a comfortable, happy life. My prince balances work with daily chores. And caring for our baby girl. Who's definitely going to be a beauty, just like her dad. Having two angels at home makes work all the more meaningful. My husband, who recently got promoted, would say. My parents occasionally visit, playing joyfully with their granddaughter. While it's nice of them to bring toys, we're running out of space to keep them. My prince was laughing as he said that. Since then, my sister and her ex-husband have gone missing again. And though we didn't know what became of them, there was just one instance they came to our house begging for money. Please, I don't need 2 million, just 1 million would do, can't you lend me that? My sister said this, shamelessly prostrating herself at the doorstep. I crouched down to meet her eye level and spoke to her. Do you want me to lend you some money, Rachel? Really, you mean it? The moment her eyes lit up, I delivered the blow. Just kidding, if you want money, get a part-time job or figure it out yourself. The very words she always used on me as a child. After that, she never came by our place, nor did she seem to visit our parents' house. She might be relying on Tyler's family, but either way, they're likely living a tough life.